Happiness, as defined and used by Jesus, is to be self-contained in your happiness, to have a blissful spirit about you, a happy spirit about you that does not depend on anything that's going on around you. It doesn't depend on the price of oil. It doesn't depend on what kind of car you drive. It doesn't depend on what your employers or employees are doing. It doesn't depend on how your spouse is behaving or how your kids are behaving. It doesn't depend on who's in the White House, and it doesn't depend on how much money you have. Happiness comes from something greater. Happiness comes from something much more eternal than the things happening around you. And you have the ability to create an environment in your life where you can have this self-contained happiness that isn't dependent on anything else. And it starts with, it's built on, and it flows from having peace with God. And in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 6, Jesus begins the greatest sermon ever taught by giving us some very practical how-to statements, or the happiest people on earth statements. And then he says counterintuitive things like, the happiest people are those who are meek. The happiest people are those who know how to mourn. The happiest people are those who strive for righteousness. The happiest people are those who make peace. And he lists all these things that are very practical and things that you can do to create an environment where happiness thrives. But make no mistake, it all starts with peace with God, and it all flows from maintaining that peace with God. Now, there's only one thing in the entire universe that could ever wreck peace with God or keep you from having peace with God, or when you've made peace with God, jeopardize that peace. There's only one thing in all the world that could take away your peace, and that is your sin. If you think about it, sin is what kills everything. In fact, sin does kill everything. Now, sin is fun for a moment, and I would say if you're not having fun while you're sinning, well, you're probably doing it wrong, because sin is fun. However, the consequences are so high that it's just not worth it. Sin always kills something. Sin can kill your marriage, it can kill your reputation, it can kill your finances, it might be killing your health right now. Sin always kills something, and the big thing that it always kills is your peace with God. And the good news is that Jesus has always made it possible for us to have peace with God and then to maintain peace with God. So if you're struggling to be happy today, you really don't have to look too much further than, what have you done with your sin? Have you taken it to Jesus? The problem is, we were all born into the kingdom of sin. Every single one of us was born on this earth under the curse of sin. And in Colossians chapter 1, listen to what Paul said. Paul said that Jesus has rescued us from the kingdom of darkness and transferred us into his kingdom as his dear son. So we were born in this kingdom that is controlled and ruled by sin, but Jesus came to rescue us and take us out of the kingdom of sin and into the kingdom of God. So you make peace with God by accepting and putting your faith in Jesus as the Son of God, the one who can rescue you from your sin. And then you maintain peace with God by submitting to Jesus, by following him, by doing the things he asks you to do. Ultimately, true happiness, self-contained happiness, comes from being at peace with God and maintaining that peace with God by living the life that Jesus wants you to live. Because the life that Jesus wants you to live, well, it's fuller, it's better, it's based on more important and permanent things, and it leads to a life of way fewer regrets and way less shame and way less bad decision making. So, want to be at peace today, want to be happy today, make sure you are in the kingdom of God, that you've been rescued from the kingdom of sin and you're living at peace with God. That's where true happiness comes from. I hope you're the happiest person on the planet today because you are at peace with God. See you later.